JC Tickets provides first-class trips to Ravens road games, including airfare, 4-star hotels, game tickets, and cocktail parties. We also help provide great seating locations to all Ravens home games. JC Tickets, where the games begin. Visit us at jctickets.net.
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, jctickets.net, Geico Insurance, Donaway Furniture, Ocean City Golf Club, RussellStreetReport.com, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Holiday Inn Express, the original Green Turtle, hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back in. It's the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show right here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, the strongest Ravens signaled affiliate on Delmarva, 93.5 The Beach. Hey, coming up at 1 o'clock, the Houston Texans at M&T Bank Stadium. Ray Lewis will be honored in the ring. We were talking about that. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But of course, we want to thank our fine sponsors, Bud Light, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Geico, the Ocean City Golf Club, jctickets.net, Holiday Inn Express at Northside at Ocean City, and our friends at Donaway Furniture. And I wanted to get back to jctickets.net for a second because it behooves you to come on down. There's your SAT word of the day. It behooves you to come on down to the show every Wednesday at 7 o'clock because we give out tickets, and you can put the tickets in the bins, and you can put 4 tickets in for one game, or you can spread them out among all 4 bins. But we do drawings for Ravens tickets as we're doing tonight, so it gives you a chance to go to the game. And of course, we've got some great Bud Light prize packs as well. So we'd love to see you down here at the Ravens Room, the infamous Ravens Room here at the Blue Ox in Ocean City. Mike Bradley, Tony Lombardi, Bruce Laird, and Bobby Vermillion on the panel here. And guys, as we continue to talk about the 14-6 win over the Cleveland Browns, and again, we talk about no matter how pretty, how ugly a division win, you know, we'll take it. And I think there were a lot of positives to take out of this. And let's start with the defense on that, because it was a defense week 1 against Denver. And I know they're not known for running the football, but they still have a solid offensive line, 2 pretty good tackles as well. They stopped the run in that one. In this game, not only did they stop the run, but they got after the passer. All the money that we spent on the Doomervilles and the Cantys and the Spears and what have you in the world, they got after it. 5 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. We're going to have one of the best pass rushes, guys, I think, in the league this year. And we just saw just the tip of it on Sunday against the Browns.
There's a lot of good things to take away from that with the pass rush. The first thing I noticed was that Haloti Ngata was getting a big push up the middle. And if you can get that big push up the middle, you can do a lot of things off the edges too. So, and I think that'll help Doomerville and Suggs, who both look great right now. And the other thing I liked in the pass rush, Bruce, was that they stunted with their linebackers. You had Josh Bynes maybe taking interference, and then Darryl Smith looping around him. So I really like the way they were working with that. And because as great as Ray Lewis was, in my opinion, he might have the most sacks of any linebacker. That's because he was on there the most plays. But at the same time, I think Darryl Smith, people might not like to hear this, but he's a major upgrade over the 2012 version of Ray Lewis.
There's no question about it, Tony. And we all get old, and you play as long as you can. But
not you. You're ready for a comeback.
Yeah, after what we're going to talk about later. I am
ready.
ready.
He's coming back. You're coming back.
I'm coming back. But
I
you're
think
so
40's
right.
available.
You're so right about that, because when you delay blitz, that's one of these things where you wait a second and then you start looping in the gut holes between the 3 and the 2 hole. I mean, between the 2 guards in the center is where I'm getting at. And they were very good there. And Haloti Ngata and Canty, some of these other guys got to make that pressure. Because this is what happens when it comes from the outside, the edges come up. Where's the quarterback got to go? He's got to step up. If you hold color and he comes up, that's when the push comes in there. Then you get the high balls where they get your hands up. And we're going to really need that, because I really feel that although there's talent in the secondary, their lack of working together is going to be a growing process. They've had a lot of trouble in the first 2 games communicating assignment, alignment, where they're going, and they're going to need to work on that and tighten that up, especially as we're going to face Houston that has some big, big weapons.
That's a great point. I was going to say that Webby and Jimmy Smith played really well this past week, but again, look at the competition relative to this week.
Oh, baby. I mean, you know, that's one of those things, Bobby, and you know this, when you got a match play or something, you look at that, and all week long, if I'm coaching this secondary, I'm going, fellas, this is all about you, babe. I mean, yeah, you're going to get a hope for your defensive line, gives you pressure. But I'm telling you, this is about you. You've got to be ready to play and play in a big stage.
It was amazing, because I kept saying, thank God we were playing the Cleveland Browns, because they had some shots. They had the one chance where Whedon overthrew the running back, and that would have been 7. So there were some opportunities there. But you're right. They had nobody on the outside to really threaten our backs. And with the pass rush that we had, it was easy picking for the Ravens. And one thing I want to mention, too, I don't think we missed Paul Kruger very much this week. That's for sure.
Oh, you mean Puddin'?
I mean, he was not a factor in the game. I mean, the Ravens, obviously with Dumerville and Suggs on one side, and Mike alluded to this. This is a dynamic pass rush that we have potentially, and it was good to see it this week. Certainly in week 1, we kind of missed that a little bit.
Mike, I think Ozzie Newsome went to M&T Bank and goes, Cleveland's going to give them $40 million. Oh, that's so great. But for Paul Kruger, Paul, you got your money, you love your family, good for you.
Cleveland isn't really an organization that makes many good decisions. That's not a knock on Paul Kruger, but $40 million, right? And then today,
that was a tad much. Well, we'll get into that. A major trade that took place right before the beginning of this show, but. Let's talk about Cleveland for a second. You talk about the receivers or lack thereof, but that is a team, though, our pass rush, that is a team, though, with their offensive line. That is a solid offensive line. Good. Joe Thomas, Mitchell Schwartz, those guys are high draft picks. And let's be honest, folks, when's the last time that we've seen Terrell Suggs have his way with Joe Thomas? Sizzle looks great. He's lost a lot of weight. He's in the best shape. He's healthy. He had his way. That is a pretty good offensive line. Other than O'Neal Cousins, they are weak at that right guard position. They were down a few guys. They signed a guy from Seattle who was pretty good, Lavallo, but he was out of the game. So other than Cousins, that was the one weak point on that line. But other than that, those are some pretty good linemen there that we dominated. So I will give some credit there. You got to give some credit to the D linemen.
Well, you do. And I think in the past that one of the differences that they didn't have that push up the middle, where those Cleveland Brown quarterbacks could step up in the pocket, and it made it harder for Terrell Suggs to get there, and easier for Joe Thomas to keep him at bay. But at the same time, I think now with that push up the middle with Canty really adds a lot too.
Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball, guys, for a second. We talk about the passing game, still a work in progress. The running game has had some issues as well, and I wanted to get your tape. I know I was up late last night doing a little film study. I love that stuff. You can lock me in a room for hours with film study on that. But the one thing that I've noticed, and it's a lot of
medication for that, Mike.
Yeah. I need medication probably for a lot of things. But the one thing I noticed, it's a lot of little things that you could point to, I think, with the running game. But the one thing I noticed sometimes, though, in that zone blocking scheme is that sometimes Ray Rice is not necessarily going to the hole that he should, or sometimes he's just too fast and doesn't let the line play out on its blocks, and it helps the Browns, or in that case, it helped the Browns out a little bit. I also noticed, too, and playing the safety position, Bruce, T.J. Ward, their strong safety or free safety at times, we had everybody blocked up 5-on-5, 6-on-6, and then he dashes in, and he's that extra man and gets the stop. And it was tough sledding for a lot of the game in that run game.
There's no question about that. Now, from the offensive perspective, they get into that. They feel that if you have that matchup, that's the one the running back should be able to win. When you put 7 or 8 in the box and the guys it comes unblocked like strong safeties do at time. But in our business as defensive guys, because that hole is so small and the area is so small, that's our play. We really feel that if we can keep a back there and we're unblocked, our hat on his body, he should go down within 2 yards. And that's the play you have to make as a defensive player. And obviously the Wilbur Montgomery's coaching the offensive backs. Fellas are saying, that's the play you got to make. You got to either run over him or make him miss. But again, once that area is really narrowed, it's a big, big advantage for the defense. As it widens, bigger disadvantage for us. They have more room to move around in and shifty, powerful guys. Like when you watch Pollard, when he hits that hole and hits that seam sometimes, and he knows where he's going, watch him put his head, shoulders through there. You better put a lick on that man or he's not going down.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation, Mike, because if you look at Ray Rice over the years, to me, the biggest runs he's had, the ones he seems to be the most comfortable with, are those out of the shotgun. And a lot of times where he's running straight through a hole. I think back to that big run in Denver last year during the divisional playoff game when they got it down to like the 10-yard, or the big run that he had, in overtime. And, I look back on those things, and he just seems more comfortable. And I think you bring up a good point that I don't know that he has the patience right now for that kind of cutback against the grain when you're doing the zone blocking scheme. Bernard Pierce seems to have that presence and that state of mind. And you're right, Bruce. He's got that short space burst that I think he's willing to take on those tacklers.
You know, Bobby,
that Rice seems to dance around.
You see it when he makes that cut. It's his shoulders and helmet up the field and go, and he wants to deliver a blow, which puts it hard on these little defensive backs now, because most of them can't hit a fly anyway.
Well, I think we're in a great position when you've got Bernard Pierce to back up Ray Rice, because they take different strokes for different folks, and obviously Pierce has a totally different running style than Ray Rice. So if Ray struggles a little bit and maybe he's not having a good game, a great change of pace is Bernard Pierce. You bring him in. And then in this situation, we're probably faced with this week where you've got Ray Rice questionable and probably won't play this week. And if he does, how effective is he going to be? You've got a guy like Pierce that can step up and make some plays. And I think that's a big benefit for the Ravens to have two good running backs.
Let's switch to the wide receiver position. Kudos to Torrey Smith, a guy that has often been said that he's just a one-trick pony, a nine-route guy, vertical guy down the field. But I think he started in the last year or two to start to be able to run more of that route tree. And now he says he's running the same patterns that he's always run the last couple of years. It's just that now he's the number one option, where in years past it was Bolden, it was Pitta. Now he's the number one option, but you still have to run good routes and get open. He did that, and the one thing that now the negative end of it is he's not able to get deep as much because he has to run more of the route tree. But Tony, he did a good job, 7 catches the other day, and he's coming through because we certainly need somebody to step up, and he did.
He stepped up, and I like the way they're trying to push back the defense, trying to stretch the defense and running these drags across the middle of the field. And that's something that Cam Cameron's offense really didn't do a lot of. So I would beg to differ with Torrey. He may have run those routes before, but it was really maybe just to clear out an area. I mean, he wasn't the primary before, nor was anybody else. But I like what Marlon Brown did across the middle. I like what Torrey Smith did across the middle. I think it opens up the whole defensive scheme too.
There's no question that Joe's going to spend a little bit more time outside the pocket. When you call a waggle play, that means the backs are going one way and the quarterback reverse pivots and comes out. When they hit the tight end that never caught a pass, Badgman, all the way for the 18-yard. That's what Joe's got to do a little bit more.
That speaks to all of our tight ends, by the way.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, at least he caught the ball. But I mean, the thought process with there is move Joe within that in and outside the box every once in a while and get those guys moving a little bit. It's going to help them play and settle down until the line, which we all thought, by the way, guys, I always thought the offensive line was the no problem of the Ravens, and let's hope that continues.
Well, we say this, if you're going to play the Ravens right now, you're going to want to stop the run. That's going to be your number one thing, because you're going to have questions on the outside. No Bolden, no Pitta. Make these young receivers beat you. That's got to be the game plan. We've seen it 2 weeks in a row now. They've done a pretty good job against our running game. We'll see if it gets better against a really good Houston Texan team.
More of the Ravens Wrap Show to come on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.